Peace and love, everybody. Gemstar in the building. What's going on? Dropping Gem TV. I'm gonna drop a gem today. We're talking about today's society, modern society, the way these kids are raised these days. You know, we got modern day parenting versus traditional parenting. Traditional parenting, for those who know, is like the old school way of life, where you had your big mama or your grandparents or your parents or your single parent, and concerning discipline, they either get a switch, a belt. The minute you do wrong, you act up, they pop in your butt, you know what I mean? They tearing you up. They didn't tolerate you talking back to them. They didn't tolerate cursing. They would tolerate certain music being played in the house. They had a curfew where you belong inside the house when that sunset goes down or when the street light goes on, you know? It was all about your schoolwork, your grades, and your chores had to be on point, and you went to church, you know? They didn't let you date at a certain age. Like I said, for example, if you're underage, in their opinion, you had to be under supervision or you just wasn't dating at all, you know? Ain't no 13, 14, 15-year-olds going out there on random dates or being on that phone talking to girls like that. They had a structure. They had to ask permission when they went, and it was being supervised by their parent, you know? Modern day parenting is totally different. Modern day parenting, I see people trying to be more of their friends, you know, the kids' friends. They'll try to communicate the risk when it comes down to dating. They'll communicate to see what's going on with them. Nothing wrong with that. But they give the kids too much freedom because, like I said, either they scared that they don't want their kids to hate them for taking privileges away, or they just don't know how to raise them. You know, because, you know, these days and times when you have kids raising kids, you know, and if they felt, a lot of parents felt the way they were raised, their parents is too strict on them, they would try to scratch that out and raise them totally different from the way they was raised, because whatever issues they had as far as them not having enough freedom in their life as far as going out, they wanted to try to pretty much give the kid the best experience or childhood experience they can. You know, they didn't really discipline. They'll put them on timeout. They'll try to give counseling to the kid if they're going through certain issues in their life. Nothing wrong with that neither. I think it's needed. But because of the freedom, it caused a lot of problems because they allow kids to backtalk with them. So, in your opinion, how would you raise your child, especially the teenage years? We see, I'm for both. I'm kind of like balanced out. You know, I think the traditional way brings forth more positive results in raising a child. I really do. I think society, for whatever reason, gotten away from that because I feel like maybe it brings forth more security in the police force where they got job security. I don't know. Specializing in locking youth up. For whatever reason, they feel the solution is the criminal justice system where they want to lock them up. It could be small time offenses they want to lock them up. You know? Is that a strategy? Is that an agenda of why they moved away from traditional parenting? If a kid gets hit with a switch or a spanking, I'm talking about a proper spanking, not beating you and your child, as far as abuse, not knuckling up and fisting them down. I feel still is needed as far as structure and disciplining a kid. I'd rather the parent deal with the child than the cops deal with the child, or another youth with a gun deal with the child, you know? I feel if you train a child properly, with that form of discipline, spanking on the butt, not fisting them up, you know, and teaching them by telling them the wrong of their ways and actions, and taking away privileges from them, brings forth positive results as far as respecting themselves, respecting adults, respecting authority, and give them a better chance of survival and street smarts at the same time. I feel when people got away with that, trying to be their friend, and brought forth kids being more spoiled. And when the kids become more spoiled, they don't take the parents' authority, in my opinion, as serious enough, where now they want to challenge the parent because they haven't been disciplined or enough in that manner, where they feel they get challenged by talking back to them. If you don't check them for talking back to them, then it leads to cursing at them. Then leads to trying to fight you. And then when you get older, they out of control. Now they want to overpower you or abuse you, rob you, lock you out your house, or it could go on and on and on, as far as because you didn't set down the rules and the standards when they were young. I think back in traditional way of life, they had the community, like I said before. Raising your child as well. I feel community plays a big part as well in raising your child, because it shows that as a whole society, certain things aren't to be tolerated. You know? It brings forth morals and character in that child's life. I felt religion plays a part, prayer, as well as communication, and teaching kids morals. If you didn't have that, kids don't know what life is. They'll end up growing confused or misguided in a lot of ways, where they're experiencing things or taking their anger out on other things to substitute or cope with things that haven't been resolved in their life. Like, say, for example, a lot of kids need guidance. And if you don't have or instill certain morals and principles or doctrine in them, such as religion, in my opinion, they look to it in the streets, or to a drug, or look to a false friend to mislead them, where they can grow up confused or self-hating themselves or whatever about life, you know? I know everybody raises their kids different, but I'm looking at society now. That's why I even thought about this topic, because look how our youth has gone astray. Like, where the parents at in dealing with our youth today? You see all the senseless murders and killings at 12 years old, 14 years old, 13 years old. They killing people like they playing Fortnite, like they playing Call of Duty. You know? I feel because the parents in modern day society hasn't really been over and watching what these kids are doing in their daily activities, and left astray where kids is raising themselves because they either gotta pay a bill, being at work 24/7, that they lost connection with their kid that way, or they just old school and out of touch, where they don't understand what the kids are going through in today's society, and they're comparing today's society how they were raised and their era, and it's like night and day. And with lack of communication, and you just prejudging kids, it'll cause the kids to go astray. That kids are left to themselves with no support, so they run to the street, run to a friend for guidance or for protection or for provision. You know, whatever happened to our parents? Where are the parents today? Why are these kids running around with all these guns, shooting one another down like they in Desert Storm or something like that? You know, some of our parents, like what are these parents doing that they can't see what's going on? Like when you see Chicago and Florida, New York, LA, all these massive gang problems that we have, that all these senseless killings that we have, where are the parents at? This drug crisis and these kids overdosing off of fentanyl and selling drugs and girls prostituting themselves for money. What happened to the parents? What happened with the self-discipline with the parents? How can we raise our kids to be one way or expect them to be one way when we ourselves aren't even being an example of being hypocritical? Here we are. How can you tell a child not to play certain music in the house and you playing it? You know? Or you dancing with the child, endorsing whatever wrong that you know that they saying, not even analyzing what the artist is saying in the music. They promoting prostitution, they promoting murdering your own people, gang violence, promoting drug use, and these parents have been dancing along with the kids, calling the girls bitches and hoes and homosexual, all this other stuff. The parents, it seem like they trying to be kids themselves. No accountability. And they want to hang out with the kids themselves. Going to the parties with them. Going to the clubs with them. Going to strip clubs with them. You know, the fathers want to be OG gangster and not being a real parent to their son and not tolerate certain things that they see. Like when you see a kid, first stage, the music, whatever music that he playing, that spirit's going to affect that child where he going to imitate his artist. If it's an NBA young boy, if it's a Young Thug, if it's a King Von or whatever, or Pop Smoke, they're going to imitate what they hear and listen. They're going to mimic their character. They're going to mimic how they talk. They're going to mimic everything. So that's the first sign. If you don't, as a parent, promote that lifestyle, you don't promote what they're saying in their lyrics or take the time out to listen to what they're saying in the lyrics, you failed your child right then and there. You lost your child right then and there. If the parent playing that stuff, the parent got to be more accountable of how the kid turned out. Don't be surprised if the kids run out to the street because look what you playing. You can't get on him and say something contradictory if you're promoting it and playing it in your house or in your car. You know? Like, how you gonna get on him? You know? If he acting out and being rebellious in school and not even going to school, manipulating you, hanging out with their friends all the time, and you're not even checking their school bags, you're not checking their pockets, you're not checking their drawers inside the house and underneath the dresses, underneath the beds to see if there's any weapons in and out their home. If you're not doing a clean sweep like you a CO or like a correction officer, you failed your kid. Because he's going to be a product or statistic to whatever his environment was and his mentality was through his music or through the influence in the street. Parents have failed their children, but they want to blame the problem about gangs. They want to blame the problem about all the murders and everything like that. They want to cry when they lose their son on social media and do cash apps. You lost your son the minute he started playing certain music. A lot of kids aren't responsible for the music they listen to. They idolize it. They're not responsible. That's the first step, I feel, how we fail these kids. You know? And then, if you're not even assisting in their schoolwork, if you don't know what your child may be struggling with it's math or whatever, needs special attention, a lot of these parents be in denial about needing special help for your children. They want to quick to curse out the parents, the teachers in school. They don't come to the board meetings to see, or the parent meetings, parent-teacher meetings at the school to see how your kid is struggling in school. So when you find out the kid getting left back and not graduating, you want to fight the teacher, or you want to curse and beat on a kid. That's not fair because you never supported that kid. That's a major issue. How you fail the kids, where parents is the problem. Modern day parenting is a problem in society. You can't blame that on the child if you're not active or involved in what's going on in the world as far as schoolwork. If you don't know their homework or even take the time out to see what's going on, how you expect them to pass? The criteria these days to get a college degree or a high school diploma or just to get to the next grade is so high and so intimidating. It's not like how it was when we was in school. If you're not showing some support, they're going to lose interest, right? They're going to show types of frustration. And I feel you lose your kid right then and there. He's going to fall asleep in class if he goes to class. That's a problem that I blame parents on. I can't blame their children on. Another thing is self-esteem. If you're not showing your child love, telling that child how much you love them, giving your child hugs and kisses, encourage them by the way you talk instead of talk. A lot of these parents quick to lose patience with a child and want to talk down on a child. Everything is, I'm going to beat your ass and you stupid, you dumb mother F, I'm going to beat your ass. You don't talk to your kid like that. You mess with their self-esteem because they believe that. They'll distance themselves from you because they create fear or hatred or animosity on you. But you expect great wonders for your child, but you instill great wonders in your child. You never took the time out to encourage the child or tutor the child or train the child or bring a child to, or pay some money to get some type of tutoring and help in school or help as far as emotional help. You neglect your child. A lot of mothers, they neglect their daughters. They don't even teach them how to clean themselves, properly. Never taught their daughters about how to handle situations when it comes to a period. They left them unprotected when it comes down to premarital sex. A lot of these parents, they leave them around their freaking boyfriends to watch them, not their husbands or their stepfathers or uncle, and never really analyze the characters of these men that they're around their daughters or sons. They think because they family, or that's your man, they leave them around different predators. And then when certain things happen, molestation and rape and all that stuff, or getting beat or abused or putting drugs in them or whatever, y'all quick to turn on the child like it's their fault. Because they never came to you, or they try to come to you, and you be in denial because you want to protect that man. That's a problem with parents a lot, why these kids are the way they are in society now. Because you never protected them. So many issues at home. Because y'all want to go out to a club, or y'all want to run out to get that gram of coke, or y'all want to run out to this and the third. You just leave your kid anywhere, unsupervised. Or let some random dude, or some dude that you sexing that you don't really know, you only do the dude probably for a couple of months, around your child. Then you want to beat on a child or think that child is being promiscuous around your man when that man's up here lusting off of your daughter or watching your daughter the whole time, or your son. And you want to be in denial about that, blame the child. That's foul all by itself. Those are certain issues that need to be addressed, and a lot of parents need to be held accountable for. Y'all want to quick to kick your son out on the streets, a lot of times the household could be a haven, especially in different environments that you're raised in. There's lack of protection. I see a lot of parents be either unaware, completely oblivious what goes on in their community, or think things can't happen to them because they out work 24/7. They leave their kids unattended. Kids be hungry 24/7, or they out, the parent out, whatever, on drugs or whatever. There's a lot of things that parents need to wake up and address on themselves and show accountability for themselves before they start blaming their kids. If you change up the way you are, you wouldn't have a gang problem and a homicide problem in your neighborhood. You wouldn't have a prostitution problem or kids committing suicide the way they are. You wouldn't have this teenage pregnancy and failure in school the way it is if the parents stepped up and became a parent. You can't put everything on God. Some things got to be on you. You can't go to church and then you live another way when you get home. Just praying out. Actions comes with your faith. A lot of kids would turn to God if the parents was living right. Not that they turn to a God they can't see, but the one that's supposed to be their God physically, which is you, is acting like a devil. No kind of support, no kind of accountability, no kind of... Y'all just want to beat the kid, make him sit home, watch TV all day, and shut up. It's not parenting. It's not fair what these kids got to succumb to. The kids got a lot of pressure as it is trying to survive in these streets. Where's all the fathers at? Like Hassan Campbell used to say. Why y'all depending on the mothers to do everything? Just because you're not getting along with the mom don't mean that you don't have to get along with your kids. Your kids that you made have nothing to do with your relationship if y'all not together or not. That's your son. That's your daughter. Why would you leave your kids abandoned like that? For you to fit your selfish needs. Why? If you ain't want no kid, you should have either been absent or wrapped it up. Why you just... It's just so backwards where I see a lot of parenting. Modern day and traditional. We failed our kids. We failed our kids drastically. I feel for these kids coming up because these parents, they be in so much denial. They're so contradictory and hypocritical. They think they're the biggest, baddest person by beating on a kid. When a lot of times even beating on the kid is not the solution. Sometimes just showing love and support and see what's going on with your child's life and interceding and intercepting that child's life is worth more than a hit or a spanking. These kids need to be loved, yo. There's so much senseless murders and killings because they're left neglected. That hate that built up and look for like-minded people who in the same scenario, in the same situation. Kids running for their lives, scared to death to go to school because of the gang violence that's going on. Parents don't even care. They think, like this is back in the early 70s and 80s. Oh, you better beat his ass. You better fight that kid. Or you come home, I'm going to beat your... Come on, these kids are not fighting these days. These kids are shooting. These kids been shooting for the last 10, 20 years. 30 years. These kids are scared to death to go to school. You don't even bother going to the school or finding out what's going on or getting the kid out the environment and let them stay in a whole different neighborhood or state. A lot of you parents is to blame for why y'all kids got murdered and killed on the streets. If you know you're in a high crime area where you know the public school systems failed them, or they ain't got no schools, period, why you force them to go to school in that area? You need to step up and try to link up with some people out that environment if you care about your kid, and stop being lazy and all about yourself because things didn't happen to you personally at that time. You let these kids walk a tightrope, gambling with their life. And a lot of times people cut school for that reason or join gangs for that reason. And you wonder why the crime rate is the way it is. You wonder why the drug problem is what it is. Because you're not showing them love when they're dealing with social issues at home. You know, a lot of issues in school that they got to handle on their own. They need money that you're not giving them because you feel like they don't deserve it because you all out for self. Kids don't want to go to school with outdated clothes that affect their self-esteem. Or no brand name clothes, and you trying to make a point to them. There's a way you go about doing things. Some things you promote or you give them an appetite to do certain things like hustle and sell drugs or rob and steal and kill other people because of jealousy, because they're tired of being made fun of. You know? A lot of parents was the cause of that. They thinking about embarrassing the kids for them to straighten up or to earn privileges. You could create an animal about your kid. But they robbing banks now. Robbing whoever because they're not getting basic necessities or just to look nice. No kid want to be tormented and tortured and embarrassed 24/7, got to go to school. Especially if y'all getting or if y'all have enough money in your home for that. Like I said, parents are to blame and the cause for a lot of these kids' downfalls. Can't blame it on the society, can't blame it on the teachers. These teachers not meant to be babysitters. You supposed to be helping out and your responsibility. That way it can make it easier for these kids to be taught. Churches are not to be meant to be babysitters where you force them to go to a church while you sitting home. What kind of example is that? You live in contradiction on that as well. Parents need to stop dumping their kids off on everybody. Their grandparents, they already lived 3-4 lifetimes already. They raised you and all your family members. And now you expecting to raise your kids that you got because you want to go out to a club? That's not fair, man. And a lot of you kids, a lot of these parents don't even come home to their kids. They could be out for weeks, months at a time, hanging out, leaving their kids over at their grandparents' house. It's not fair to them. It's not fair to them. Take responsibility and accountability for your that's your children. Stop expecting everybody else to raise your kids. You know, parents need to step up, modern day and traditional. I know I went off topic. I feel you have to balance it out, but you have to show the love and show that you really care for your kid and really step up. That prevents a whole lot of unnecessary destruction in your kid's life. That's all I'm saying. Parents, y'all need to step up. You know, especially you fathers, y'all need to step up, man. Your kids is not meant to be pawns for government assistance. You only got these kids so you can get some sort of government assistance. And when that runs out, y'all want to get kids again. That's foul. That's wrong. Or use for tools for child support to make money off of different men. And you're not even spending the money on the kids. That's wrong. And y'all need to be ashamed of yourselves for that. Y'all need to wake up, because we losing so many kids. Kids getting kidnapped because they're not being watched properly or supervised properly. They're getting raped, molested at home because you leaving them with these stupid boyfriends and stepfathers and uncles because y'all want to do your own thing. It's not fair. It's not fair to the grandparents. You know, these kids getting murdered left and right, or in jail left and right, over things that y'all could have prevented if y'all would have stepped up and interceded in their lives. That's all I'm saying, yo. Something to think about. Easy.